It's day 2 of the Africa Energy Indaba, and it's underway in Cape Town. Role players in the energy space are meeting to discuss the continent's energy challenges. SABC News economics reporter Katlego Legodi has been bringing us coverage at the Indaba, and he joins us now. Good afternoon, Katlego. What do you have for us at this hour?
Good afternoon, Diabo, and to our viewers at home. We are still on that quest for solutions where the energy crisis on the African continent is concerned. We bring you, of course, various voices coming from those that are in South Africa and from the African continent. Of course, also we saw Europe, Czech Republic officials, they are here as well, trying by all means to form part of those discussions as we push to get those solutions. We're taking you this afternoon at this point in time to Africa's largest economy, this being Nigeria. They have also, Diabo, been experiencing challenges around the issues of energy, and they're here as well to form part of those that are pushing to get solutions for Africa. I'm bringing into the conversation now Ifoma Malo, who's joining us this afternoon, coming through just to let us in on those solutions. Ifoma, first and foremost, happy International Women's Day. Let's start there, and let's go then into the solutions that we are talking about here. Very important, and for us to get it right here, it will mean Africa getting it right, and Nigeria in particular, the largest economy, moving as well. Welcome to the SABC.
Thank you very much for having me. I think it's an important forum that we're talking about energy access and some of the energy challenges on the continent. One of the things that you have seen, at least during the conversations here and yesterday, but even in a lot of the other high-level forums, is the fact that we need to begin to think about regional cooperation when it comes to solving our electricity problems. One of the things you've seen is Nigeria over the years having perennial power problems and shortages, and that is increasingly spreading across other continents. South Africa, for instance, is facing the same issues. And so one of the things that we've said is we can move from the sub-regional blocks like the West African Power Pool, the East African Power Pool, the Southern African Power Pool, to having a much more robust continental power pool. One of the things that was launched yesterday was the continental plan for a single African market, electricity market. And I think that's good, because what that plan is saying is that we need to think cohesively around financing for infrastructure. We need to think about the energy transition and the debates that are going in, and beginning to align our energy systems for the sort of transition that we want to see Africa have, and that we need to think about jobs and growth. As we're making this energy transition, as we're building new infrastructure, as we're designing financing models, how do we make sure that we're creating jobs that can take care of Africa's youth and make sure that they're getting jobs out of this whole systems that we're designing?
In Nigeria, I know very well that the economy has not been doing well, attributed really to the issue of the power crisis. What have you been doing to mitigate, leading to this Indaba? What solutions are you bringing that maybe we can copy as the African continent, we can copy Nigeria to say that this is a solution that would work?
That's a very good question. The last couple of years, Nigeria has gone through several iterations of trying to solve its power issues. We first started by privatizing our power sector and removing a lot of the power assets from the hands of the government and making it more private sector driven. What that did by decentralizing our power industry was to attract a lot more foreign investments. Foreigners and people with money then thought to themselves that Nigeria was an investment destination. That didn't solve all our problems because of other things that I will go into as we talk. But then Nigeria then decided to build an integrated power plan, and also to do a lot around renewables. And what we did with that was to begin to say, how do we get power into the hands of rural and last mile communities and free a lot of that power for industries and for commercial purposes. And so you've seen that there's been a shift in the way that power distribution occurs. The other thing that has happened is that there's been a lot more incentives for state governments, or what you call municipal governments, to go do a lot of power drive, to take into account how to then bring people to come to their states or their regions to do power projects, with those municipal governments providing incentives like land, patient capital, and being the drivers around how to bankroll those projects through a PPP agreement.
And we're seeing very well that at least those are being filtered here, they are being discussed here. But let's talk also about women, the role of women. They have been left behind in terms of trying to craft solutions, and it was even evident here when we look at the panel sessions that at least we're trying to strike a balance, but the voice of women is still missing. On International Women's Day, how important is it that we bring women towards these solutions?
You know, I think that's an important point you make. We sort of leave these conversations about bringing in women and bringing in even more vulnerable population into the power discussion. One of the things to note is that Energia, which is an international organization, has brought out data to show that energy poverty wears a woman's face. In other words, women are most impacted by the lack of electricity, just by the kind of work that they do at home and also the kind of businesses that they do, which are smaller micro businesses, which need a lot of power. So they end up being poor, perennially poor, because they can't afford big generators and they can't afford all the other alternative sources. But the important thing to note is that it is not just the job of governments to bring in women into the power sector. It is also the role of private sector to think about how they can bring in the voices and the work and the intellect of half of their population into decision making, into projects, and into governance when it comes to the power industry, and then use that to enable other small and medium-sized businesses that will be paying for the power that they would use, especially if you remember that those small and medium-sized businesses are women-owned and usually women-led across Africa.
Malo, thank you very much for your time. And let's leave it here for now. Just coming through from Nigeria with some of those solutions. You can hear Diabo from her enthusiasm that she really knows where the solutions can come from. And this is a woman that I just pulled her out of a session as we speak right now. As those thematic sessions continue this afternoon, we inch in towards solutions. At least there's a little bit of light. Africa is power hungry, we're hearing. But most of those delegates that are here, they're very, very resolute about leaving here with some of those solutions that will find expression in years to come. Diabo?
Katlego, thank you so much for bringing through all the different voices from around the continent and also internationally. We really appreciate hearing what their solutions are, and we'll catch up with you again much later.